Is Joe Burrow not getting enough criticism for a terrible game? Well, let's talk about it, right? Let's actually talk about it. Joe Burrow played the Pittsburgh Steelers opening week, and he had one of those games where there's going to be a big number that stands out about his performance, and it's going to be that interception number, right? We know with quarterbacks that tends to be one of the numbers that people just fixate on. And sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not. I think there are other metrics to watch, but he threw 4 interceptions and lost the game. Let's hear what they have to say about it, then I'm going to bring my thoughts in too.
Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals game was such a, in my eyes, a thriller. It was a nice game because Cincinnati coming into this thing, Joe Burrow, old Max Kellerman, the chain, the mink coats, Jay Love, the
Joe
mink
Cool.
coat, Joe Cool. And then he goes out there, he has a fumble, 4 interceptions, and he threw the ball almost 60 times in the game. That's probably not the way you want to go. Although he battled back and he fought hard and all of those sort of things. But if he doesn't throw those 4 interceptions in the fumble, you're not in this situation. And so will he do this the rest of his career? No. Will he probably do it this year again? No. This is an interesting situation because you give the Pittsburgh Steelers life after you rattled them 2 straight times last year. Now you give them life. They feel like, hey, this is what it is. That conference or that division going to be interesting because everybody in that division won yesterday except Cincinnati.
You got 3 quarterbacks.
All right, so here's one of the interesting things that I don't feel like has been explored in the Joe Burrow discourse, and I'm going to try to be real careful with how I do this because I don't want to come off like I'm a Joe Burrow hater. I like Joe Burrow a lot. I like how he carries himself. I like how he plays the game. But there are flaws in his game, like there are flaws in everybody's game, that I feel like are a bit under discussed. And I think there are flaws in how the Bengals use him, right? They mentioned it there. How many passing attempts did Joe Burrow have this week? 53. 53 passing attempts. And he took 7 sacks. And here's the thing. This is not the first time Joe Burrow has had to throw the ball over 40 times, gotten sacked over 5 times, and thrown over 4 interceptions. This happened last year a couple of times, right? And I think what could be potentially found out about the Bengals and their biggest critical flaw with Joe Burrow, or Joe Burrow's biggest critical flaw that he's going to have to figure out a way to correct one way or the other, is sometimes the Bengals don't do great to keep him out of these situations where he gets sacked a lot. But a good amount of times, these situations are the gift and curse of Joe Burrow at times, right? Sometimes he makes really bad reads. Sometimes he just wants to get the ball to a playmaker too much. Sometimes he just wants to make a play too much, which can lead to him holding on to the ball, which can lead to him being more hesitant, which can lead to him throwing interceptions. And again, I think we focused on a lot of the good with Joe Burrow over the summer, and he deserved it because he had a great and tremendous playoff run. But he's also still a third-year quarterback who's really had 2 years of game experience, well, really like less than 2 years of game experience because he got injured so early in his rookie year. And I think we kind of forgot that about Joe Burrow in the discourse. And I think some of it's unfair, some of it is fair, but whatever is fair is not what's reality. The reality is he's the golden boy right now, right? Like him, Justin Herbert, and Josh Allen, that's who they want to market the league around. The NFL's made it clear. Him and Patrick Mahomes too, right? But this is interesting because I think people are reacting, and you heard somebody say it, that'll never happen again with Joe Burrow. It's happened before. It would be kind of silly to assume it's never going to happen again because this isn't an aberration, in my opinion. I think this is a result of how the Bengals at times have a tendency to over-rely on Joe Burrow's ability to play make and in turn misuse him. Because again, Bengal fans will know, and they might want to argue with me because this is a critical take on how the Bengals use Joe Burrow, and maybe they want to defend their team. But is this the first time Joe Burrow's thrown 3+ interceptions in a game? And it ain't really been his fault? Is this the first time he's taken 7 sacks in a game? Is this the first time he's had to throw for over 50 times? These things aren't rare. The tsunami that created the mess that was his play is not rare. Now, it is worth noting that did Joe Burrow play statistically bad? Yeah. Did Joe Burrow make the game-winning drive and make the game-winning throw to win the game at the end of regulation, and then Zach McPherson smoked not 1, but 2 field goals to win the game? So even though you throw 4 interceptions, you lose that game, it's on you. But he also redeemed himself from those interceptions. He just was robbed of it. But hey, when you throw 4 interceptions, you can't really complain of being robbed of anything because you threw 4 interceptions and fumbled the ball.
They lost because
1,000%.
4 interceptions.
But nobody's walking away from this game be like, oh, Joe Burrow, like it's not going to.
Looking for a new quarterback?
Yeah, he's fine. He battled back. The plays he made down the stretch to put his team in the position to win that game were incredible. Like if it were in a high snap, McPherson makes a field goal, like you win the game.
Maybe it was the chain in the mink coat.
It could be.
Right, if they don't block they win. They should have won that game. They should have won the game.
What if he was wearing the chain?
Here's the problem I have with that narrative that the Bengals should have won that game. No, they shouldn't have. And there's no such thing as should have won a game. Like, you either win the game or you don't. And I'm not just saying that from a philosophical standpoint. You don't deserve to win a game because you couldn't stop Minkah Fitzpatrick from blocking a field goal. You allowed that to happen. You don't deserve to win a game because your kicker missed a 11-yard field goal wide left. You don't deserve to win the game. I think people use that in context of when you lose a game in close situations and people feel like it's not the team's fault, but that's absolutely 100% the team's fault. Special teams is on the team, right? Either you make the plays and you execute or you don't. And the Bengals lost that game not because of bad luck, because they did not execute. The operation was sloppy all game, from the long snapper to the holder to Zach McPherson, right? It was sloppy. And sloppy execution gets sloppy results. So, there's a lot of people who, again, they like the Bengals. They like Joe Burrow. They want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm questioning some of that benefit of the doubt. Like, again, I'm not saying Joe Burrow's a bad quarterback. He's one of the 7 best quarterbacks in the NFL, undoubtedly. So he's elite to me. But I think you need to ask yourself, why does he keep being put in these situations where he gets sacked a ton, where he throws a ton of interceptions, and he has to throw the ball a ton? Why do they keep doing this to him, right? The second question you have to ask yourself is, how much can you afford to just have Joe Burrow's playmaking ability carry this team? And how long are you going to allow him to do that before you decide that you need a different offensive mind there so he doesn't have to carry the load? Because if Joe Burrow keeps being used like this, I have news for Cincinnati fans. He won't have a long career. Everybody is fixated on Lamar Jackson, saying he's not going to have a long career. I look at Joe Burrow, and I think his career could be shorter than Lamar Jackson because he's about the same age. And he takes a ton of hits. I mean, 7 sacks is 7 hits, but he takes more hits than he gets sacked, right? So they can't protect him, and they're doing nothing to help him, right? When you drop him back 53 times and you can't protect him, you're putting him in danger 53 times. Straight up. And if I was a Bengal fan, I would want the team, and I'm not saying Zach Taylor should get fired after, and I'm sorry, it's Evan McPherson. But I'm not saying that Zach Taylor should get fired because of one bad game. But this situation where Joe Burrow has to throw the ball too much, where Joe Burrow takes a ton of sacks, where Joe Burrow has to drag the offense back and create all the plays himself, or at least feels like he does. It happens far too often in the small sample size that I've seen out of Joe Burrow, which is a season plus like 9 games. It happens far too often. For a team as talented as the Bengals are on offense, it happens far too often. And I think a serious question needs to be asked of, is the schematic help, is the coaching around Joe Burrow something that Joe Burrow is good enough to carry, or something that is legitimately helping the development of your quarterback? Because I don't believe that to be the case. And I haven't believed that to be the case for a while because these situations keep popping up. I just think Joe Burrow is such an individually great player. He kind of makes it not a thing because he's such a good player and he makes plays. And he makes geniuses out of, regular men. But that's where my concern would be. Not that Joe Burrow is going to be bad this season. They're not going to worry about that. But my concern, if I'm Cincinnati, is Joe Burrow going to be so good that he's going to limit his own ceiling just by being good enough to justify the existence of a subpar head coach? Is that how this thing goes for him? Because he's good enough to where a coach would never get fired. They stand alongside him. They're not going to be a losing team anytime soon with Joe Burrow at quarterback. But sometimes losing makes you make decisions, and sometimes decisions need to be made. And I don't know. If I'm Cincinnati, I don't like that our offensive line couldn't protect Joe Burrow after they invested so much in Joe Burrow, and then he gets sacked 7 times, and then the coach decides to drop him back 50. Part of that was because they were down early, but 53 times is egregious. But that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Bengals should start to think about options outside of Zach Taylor to run the offense? Or do you think that this is just one bad game and won't repeat itself, despite the fact that this game has happened before? Let me know your thoughts.